What's good, YouTube fight fans all over the world? It's your boy, Real Talk Boxing. We back at you again. Hope you guys had a blessed day. I'm on Boxing News 24, and I ran across this article, Errol Spence targeting Canelo Alvarez for a fight at 160 pounds at Cowboy Stadium. It says that Errol Spence is interested in moving up to 160 pounds to take on Canelo Alvarez at Cowboy Stadium, which seats 105,000 people. Okay, that really is irrelevant right now. He does have a scheduled bout December 5th with Danny Garcia, and we are still in a pandemic, people. So who's to say that we're going to have, a stadium that's open to be seated with people? I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But anyway, that would mean Canelo would have to move back down to middleweight. He's currently the 160-pound champion, super middleweight champion, and he just won the WBO light heavyweight championship, 175 pounds. Well, not just, but, a little while back. They're both 30 years old. Spence says he's having problems now making 147 pounds. It's because Spence walks around at 190. He's reported to balloon up to 190. I've heard it come out of his mouth, in interviews. And he says it's just getting hard to make that weight. So 160 wouldn't be a problem for him if you balloon up to 190. He said he liked to eat. Now, Canelo would have to come down to his natural weight class, which was, middleweight. I don't see that be a problem. But the only problem that I have with this is that, bro, you got a mandatory, not a mandatory, but you have a scheduled date with Mr. Danny Garcia, former two-division world champion, someone who's not a pushover. Now, you shouldn't look past your opponent, especially your up-and-coming opponent. His mind should only be on Danny Garcia and Danny Garcia only. Now, when we're talking the Canelo fight, his mind isn't necessarily on Canelo, it's on that lunch money. We all know that. But still, you have a task at hand. So focus on that, Spence. Who should win that fight? Him and Danny Garcia? It depends on what Spence we're talking about. Now, if we're talking about a Spence who never had a car accident, who we know that is mentally and physically on point and stable, Errol Spence. Still would be a difficult fight, but Errol Spence. But now we're talking about Errol Spence that we haven't seen fight in a significant amount of time. And he's been through this car accident that was pretty bad, honestly, man. He need to count his blessings because somebody's praying for Errol Spence. That was a bad car crash, man. It just wasn't his time. So, in my perspective, that's how I don't really know what the outcome is going to be with him and Danny Garcia. I'm going to need it at least 4 or 5 rounds to be able to tell you that when the fight happens. But as far as Canelo, let's just say Errol Spence beats and dominates Danny Garcia. All right? And they actually are in the works and trying to make him and Canelo, that fight happen. Should that fight happen, who do I think would win that fight? Well, my opinion is I think we would have a replay of Errol Spence, Mikey Garcia. That's what I think would happen. I think Canelo is too big, naturally bigger guy, crafty. Now, Errol Spence could definitely outwork Canelo because Canelo fights in spurts. But I just don't think Errol Spence would be strong enough to beat Canelo Alvarez. Even though Spence would be going up in weight and he's used to walking around at well above 160, Canelo's just been there for the longest, and he's still crafty. He's not long in the tooth. He does have a heck of a lot more fights than Errol Spence, so there's probably a lot more, well, I can't say more wear and tear because Canelo hasn't been in a car accident. Let's just say that Errol Spence shows no signs of any type of bad physicality when fighting Danny Garcia, and he just looks immaculate. Then we can say something. We can talk something about it. But still, Canelo Alvarez is just no joke. Canelo Alvarez is a very seasoned fighter, and he's not even old. He's been a seasoned fighter in his 20s. You know what I'm saying? His mid-20s, he was seasoned. He was a mature fighter. So I just don't see Errol Spence causing a huge threat to Canelo Alvarez should they fight. If they fought, I would tune in definitely. But man, you got a task at hand, man. So you don't even need to be talking about Canelo. You should be talking about Garcia, bro, because that's who you got to face, and it's not going to be a walk in the park, especially us not knowing what type of physical and mental stage and point you're at in your life after this car wreck, man. It's just hard to say. It's just hard to tell. Update though, man. Before I, took my little break, my 3-week break, I told you guys I was still working out and I was eating different, and I hadn't had any meat in almost 3 months now. I've been vegan, not vegan, excuse me. Sorry about that, Pete. I've been vegetarian for about 3 months now, and I have lost 14 pounds in this, what used to be a struggle, because the first 2 weeks, man, I was like this. I was going through withdrawals. I can definitely say I know how a crackhead feels now trying to come off drugs, but not so much. But it was pretty bad, y'all, because I'm from Texas. I was raised on meat and potatoes, but I'm lighter on my feet. My health is a lot better, and I'm going to do a new intro video for my channel, y'all to see that, and then you'll be able to see the change in my body and how I move. So, but other than that, man, like I told y'all, I'm back. And I'm gonna bring you guys some content. I'm gonna try to post a video every day. Try to. I'm a family man and I work a full-time job. So, things happen. But what do you think about Errol Spence possibly, should he pass the test against Danny Garcia fighting Canelo Alvarez? I just don't think he has enough to beat Canelo. The fight can be made because there's a lot of money to be made. But how do you think Errol Spence will fare against a bigger, and I think way more experienced guy? Let me know, comment below. As always, respect all, fear none, God bless. Till the next time, Real Talk Boxing, baby, we gone.